Oh, I didn't see you come in. Well, cheers. That reminds me, this episode is brought to you by Cheers Package Store, located at 508 City Boulevard in beautiful Waycross, Georgia. So if you've got a hankering for a tasty adult beverage, go on down to Cheers Package Store. Again, it's located at 508 City Boulevard in beautiful Waycross, Georgia. Oh, and tell Roy that the Something in the Water boys said hello. Drink responsibly. Unknown Henson bends down and he don't even have the mic up to his. He's on the stage. I'm standing on the floor, but he's like just in my ear, like, "Well, what are you?" I said,
"I'm a prophet."
I said, "I'm Jesus," and he said, "Boy, they're gonna tear you apart. It's your Lord and Savior." Like into the microphone, and everybody starts going boo. And I'm like, man, this is weird.
You're booing Jesus.
Jesus, you ruined my life. And I said, whoa, hang on, buddy.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to another Something in the Water podcast. I'm Uncle Dave Griffin.
I'm Sean Clark, and we are here with our good buddy pal, Lee O'Neill.
How about it?
From Brunswick, Georgia.
Good to have you, Lee.
Good.
Local drummer, musician, solo artist.
Something.
Yeah,
Jack of all trades.
He's one of them guys that pissed me off. You know, these drummers who can also play guitar, handle themselves on the guitar well enough to get a job as a guitarist, as a solo guitarist at the gig. So he can do it all.
And dance
folks.
moves. And
Dance moves.
Spoons. Well, not really.
Well, good to have you, Lee.
Yeah, good to be here.
Our paths go back a long ways.
Yeah.
I suppose y'all knew each other before me and you.
I was trying to
knew
think
each other.
the other day about what is your memory of you and I meeting for the first time?
God.
Because I'm not sure, really.
I'm thinking it's almost
just
tied
at a
into the
gig.
Newfanglers, but it could have possibly been before that.
For me, it's being at a gig at.
But when did you start intertwining with Waycross? What was that first?
And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. You might even know the answer to this stuff. So, the first time I started playing in Waycross was with a guy named Les Dale, guitar player, and he played with a bass player. I can't remember.
There was one named
dude's
Charles
name.
McClellan.
That's probably who it was.
He was
Charles,
3 years older than me.
Dude,
Tall
guy,
Yeah.
real nice, laid back, real nice guy. Not a bad bass player at all. Les. So I don't even remember how I met Les. I'm not sure how that connection went. But the first time he played in Waycross was with him.
Was that the old Whitfield's
and
place?
We played at old Whitfield's, and we played in the middle section.
The middle bar. Yeah.
And we played a couple of gigs there. So
Damn.
3 or 4 gigs there. And then he moved to Atlanta. Something happened, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
Then I didn't come back into Waycross. And somehow within there, I think the first thing back would have been playing with Josh Kirkland and Keith. And I played some gigs at the Old Creek, and we played some gigs at, what's that other place? Where you, the first time you did the Graham Parsons stuff.
The
Little Nights.
The Little Nights. Played
Little
some
Nights,
gigs at Little Nights and played some gigs at the Creek. And then ended up doing out-of-town gigs with Josh, doing that Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute deal.
Okay.
That lasted a little while. I mean, we played in Virginia and in Corpus Christi,
But
Texas.
I think
and
we all
stuff.
knew you by that point because that was when we were all working at Crosstown.
And the timeline does get messed up. I know that I'm pretty sure that I met Paul. He was working at Clyde's. I'd made another connection. You know, it's like I was playing in a band in Brunswick, and eventually that band broke up. And then I went to St. Simon's and met these other players over there. And then through those players, got maybe back a connection with Crawford. And from that, went to Clyde's Discount. Paul works there. That's how I think I met Paul.
Okay.
And Paul introduced
And
me.
Paul introduced me to all y'all. But Paul didn't have anything to do with the
Lesdale.
with the Les Dale. He didn't, and I don't think he had anything to do with Josh either. Although I will say I don't actually remember.
Wasn't Paul in the band with you and Josh doing the tribute?
But that was later. When I first met Josh
Okay, I'm
and was
thinking about
playing
that.
with him,
So
he
I
had a
didn't
guy
know.
named Keith playing bass.
Oh yeah, Keith McAlpin.
Yeah, and Keith was playing bass.
Was that
And-
the one married to Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Actually,
after,
these people watching
I know.
or listening, they're saying, "Who's Paul? Who's
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
who's Sean? Who's Keith?"
All local
people in
Waycross.
Waycross.
They're all Paul Lee.
My roots go deep, even though it's not like I'm from here or any of that, but they go deep because they went deep before I ever even met y'all by playing here already. I was already playing with Les, then I was already playing with Josh, and somewhere in there, my recollection is playing a gig at the Creek. It was the old Creek with the glass behind you. Set up my drums, and it was Paul on bass, me on drums, you, Reed,
Reed Bennett.
and that's it. I don't think there was anybody else at that gig.
And that wasn't Newfoundland.
Because you guys were kind of standing off.
it was just-
you know, that little stage, it wasn't that big. So me and Paul are on there. Somebody's over here.
On
Might
the
have been
floor.
you or
somebody
Reed.
and somebody's on the floor.
And
down
then
front.
you guys were on the floor. And then we were playing a gig.
Mhm.
That's the first gig I remember with y'all.
That would have
Is
had
that
to
right?
be early 2000s. Prior to Newfoundlands would have been pre-2003. And when I
That
started
sounds
working
right.
at Crosstown, it was 2001.
It was 2000
So,
it was 2001.
and the gigs were going on slowly. Whitfield's Basement, that was picking up. We were playing some gigs down there ourselves.
It was 2001,
Mhm.
not quite 2002 yet, when I stopped playing with Eric Culberson. And when I stopped playing with him, at that time, it wasn't but not even a year after that where somehow I hooked up with Greg and Crawford and me and Bill Lukage doing that Strange Birds gig. But I met Paul then and I know that was the name of that band. Isn't that weird? I know. I met Paul at Clyde's, and somehow he invited me to come play. I think what it originally was, I was telling you about this the other day. When I met Paul wanted me to play with him and Carl Davis in Florida. But I tried out and I didn't get accepted. And it was like, okay, well, they're not looking for whatever it was. I do. They didn't dig it. It's all good. Came back, and then Paul was like, we got a gig coming up at the Creek. We need a drummer. And you play the gig. Okay. And then boom, I was just thrown in on the deep end. And then that was when I met you, and I met you. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That sound right to
sounds
y'all
about
too?
right. Been
And then
early,
there it was.
early 2000s.
And then after
So
that,
the Les Dale thing, what
was
I'm
before
kind of thinking is, this is kind of funny. You mentioned Charles McClellan, the bass player for Les Dale.
yeah.
I went out in '98. I went out to Whitfield's, and on a Friday night, me and Lynn went out on a date, and it was like we seldom went out much at all back then. So it was like weeks in between a night out. And I was still working at the post office back then. And we go to Whitfield's, and Charles McClellan's in the crowd. And they were probably playing that night too. You may have been the drummer that night.
How about that?
But
Could have very
Charles
well been.
recognized me. He was 3 years older than me in my brother's grade in high school, but
Okay.
we knew each other, and he came over and talked. And when we left that night, he says to me, "We need to get together and pick sometimes." And on the way home that night, I turned to Lynn and I said, "You know what? That's every time we go out, which ain't very often, run into an old music buddy. They say the same damn thing. We need to get together and pick sometime." And we all say, "Yeah, we do." And nobody ever does. So if you'll do it with me, we'll have a little get together at the house in Thanksgiving of 1998. That was the first Graham Parsons tribute, the first backyard thing that started the Graham Parsons guitar pool. But so that was in the 98. So it would have been the late 90s when you played with Les.
Because even though I was still playing with Eric, I was playing with Greg Hester, and I was playing.
And when did you do the Eric Culberson thing?
That started in 95.
Oh, okay.
And
so
went 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2001, 2000, somewhere in there is when it ended.
And y'all traveled a lot.
Oh, we went from Buffalo, New York was the north we went. The Keys were as south as we went.
Damn.
And we went out west as far as Chicago.
Right.
And that was a lot of traveling. That was
road.
A little bit of boot camp stuff, you know.
Pull your mic in a little closer to you there.
Okay.
There you go. Download.
Better? Cool. A little bit of boot camp music stuff, no doubt.
Paying your dues.
Absolutely. You know, you start playing, I started playing my instrument, started playing drums around 7th grade or something like that. Never had an interest before. Went by the music department, heard it, went, yep, I can do that. And then couldn't, but learned how to. And then that led to 4 years of high school. And then right after that, it wasn't too long after high school is when I met, I met Steve Holland, the Molly Hatchet dude.
Oh, okay.
And they went up to Boston and said, "We're going to call you in a year and get you to come up and play drums with us." And I said, "You're going to Boston. There's 100 million drummers there. Berklee School of Music is in Boston. So they're going to find a drummer. Forget it."
Well, you must have been pretty damn good.
Well,
for Molly Hatchet to be telling you.
They called me back that year and said, "Okay, we're going to fly you up here." This is so funny. Life story stuff. They're going to fly you up here and let you check it out, see what it's about. Well, when I was up there for like a week or something, it was roll the red carpet out, and very nice. It was awesome. Great. Oh my God, this is going to be incredible. Get up there for real. Different story altogether, completely. And that's just that typical life story, Oh yeah, I'm going to be doing this. No, you're not. It's just that's what this is, but you ain't going to be doing any of that.
So did you actually played with Molly Hatchet?
Well, I played with Steve Holland. He had left the band, and then they went up to Boston, and then they called me, and I went up there and was up there. I don't know. I was trying to figure this out. I've always said I've been up there for about 5 years, but I think it was actually about 3. About 3 years at the most, I think. And after that, when I came back, that's a whole nother story. But when I got back, I started kind of wanting to get with the band that I used to play with. The first band I started playing with, when I got back, but they already had another drummer. So I was like, okay, well, I went to a practice and saw them and all, but then they wanted to play like what they had been doing. And it was kind of a weird scene a little bit. It was like, okay, yeah, y'all need to carry on. And somewhere in there, we might have played again, but it didn't last. Somewhere in there, I went to St. Simon's and started playing with musicians over there. That's when I met Bobby Burns, and y'all know Kimbo, and all these people that played on St. Simon's. Met all of them. Got a band, played with that band. That lasted a while, then that ended. And after that ended, somewhere in there, after I went, because right after that, I started my own band, Mojo Bone. And within that, I went on the road with Eric, came back, and then that's when I started playing with y'all.
Okay. That's a hell of a timeline there. So let's figure this out. Let's see what year did you graduate?
84.
84. So you was right there in that time period.
In between the two of y'all almost.
So you grew up with
It's a pretty amazing year.
Late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say
music.
that because I wasn't living in 84.
Van Halen, 1984.
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was some things that came out that I knew.
Slasher movies were popular in that 1984.
But musically, I was
13th.
like Thousands of the Holy, and I was just listening to all this
You were going backwards.
way back and trying to educate myself.
Which was a good move, really.
But I only listened to like 70s stuff coming up to, and I checked all that stuff out. And, there was a period where it was like, if it didn't rock, I didn't want to even know anything about it. It was just BS. It was BS music. All music that didn't rock sucked. And that was just the way I looked at it then. But this is like 16, 17, 18 years old or whatever. I had no idea. But, eventually you get turned on to things. That's where I was lucky that I would have older friends that were musicians that would go, you don't know nothing about the James Gang? You never heard them? Here, let me check this out for you, or whoever. There would always be some guy that would be into some genre of music. That's one guy like David Bowie stuff. So that turned me on to all that kind of glam rock, all that stuff, But then I knew another guy that it was all about Neil Young. That's all he liked was Neil Young. So then I got turned on to all of that Neil Young and Crosby, Stills, and Nash and all of that stuff. Then there was another dude. It was all about Hendrix, but that's all he liked. He didn't listen to nothing else but Hendrix, but that's what he liked. So that turned me on to Hendrix, It was just funny how that worked out,
Well, it was karma paving your way for you. I mean, by being exposed to all that, you became a sought after drummer and studio. You did a lot of work. You did my CD, and I know that you recorded in the studio with Sean and them, and
a bunch of stuff with Greg and
the Newfanglers, of course.
Newfanglers.
But
and we were trying to figure it out.
You.
What the heck did I play on? Well, I know I played on Yellow Moon. That's one.
He's saying he played on Yellow Moon.
I was thinking, I thought you played on
all
the
that
first
crazy
track.
drum stuff and cymbals and all that stuff.
That's
we did
right.
all of
That's
that.
right. I was
When
getting
you
it
said-
mixed up with the other song.
The instrumental.
That was Paul doing that. But you played on the first two tracks then.
That's right.
You played on number one, Hollis Shepherd, and you played on Yellow Moon.
That's right. And I thought that I played on something later in the album, but I guess I didn't.
You may have getting the daggum album out and reading the credits on it.
The gossip song.
Like towards the end of the
think that
record.
was Paul,
I thought
too.
I was on that too.
Did you do the gossip song?
I think.
Hello, a newspaper headline
Right.
today.
I think that's what I did. And then because that song drifts back into the first song where it does all that.
No, that's
what your song was.
Or whatever.
That's Family Reunion. But
And I didn't play
you
it.
didn't play on that one because that was Dave Green because he had a piccolo snare.
What about your song?
You played on that.
I
Our Love's
did play
Astray.
on that.
Our
Love's
Love's
Our
Astray.
Love's Astray. That was it. Okay.
That's the third one.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, you
Okay.
had 3 out of 12, so that was.
Yeah, right.
You did.
That's,
I mean,
I
that
ain't
was pretty
complaining
good.
none.
I mean, Paul.
I was just trying to remember, like, what was it that I played on?
I'm trying to think.
For some
it was-
reason, Yellow Moon was the
I mean-
only tune I could really remember.
I can't remember if you played on the album, the studio version of that or not. I know because I know we played it several times live, but I could go because that was recorded before we even had the New English concept.
Yeah, Our Love's Astray, and it was a great recording too.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
played
no
hell
recorder
trying to
loves
duplicate
Astray,
it.
yeah.
And we
Something
did.
about the counting.
We kept it, didn't we?
What?
The first recording, didn't we keep that or no?
I thought we went back in and
I know I
and
re-sang it
Had to
one time.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
something was off though with the. Maybe it was the way it was counted in, or what have you.
Was
I
it
don't
me?
remember. No,
You talking about
It
what-
wasn't me.
talking about we redid it,
Oh,
but I don't think it was you. I think,
but you
I
still don't think
you,
it was
you
me.
came in
yeah.
and must have done it then. Paul
I
would
don't
know.
know.
Paul Lee would know.
we'll have
I
to
definitely
get Paul
remember
on here.
that was the night that I came over. I definitely recorded Yellow Moon that night.
Mhm.
I think I might have went ahead and laid down the Hollis Shepherd tune that night.
Possible.
In that recording night,
Mm-hmm.
I had that Unknown Henson album that y'all
Yeah.
didn't know nothing about.
Yeah.
It turned
And
us
I went,
on.
after we recorded all that stuff,
Yeah,
we
that's
good,
right.
we good, we got it recorded. Okay, I got something here for y'all. This is something I
You
think.
must have been on pins and needles having to hold back on
I
that.
was holding back, and I was like, "No, they're just going to blow their minds."
It was
You know, the story on that is that Randy,
Yeah.
when he went to Walmart, he would just look through the bin and he saw that front cover of that Unknown Henson album, all weird, you know, and he was like, "Man, this is crazy looking. I'll buy it." And it was like whatever. It wasn't in the discount bin, but I don't think he. It was like $4.99 or whatever it was. Anyway, buys it, puts it in. He's listening to it as he pulls out the parking lot. And he said halfway down the road, I had to pull over because I was laughing so
Hey.
hard. I couldn't
Lee.
stand it.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my fault.
It's all right.
He was just tripping out on how funny it was and how weird it was.
We got to
And
pull that. We got to find out which album that is. I can't remember the
it's The
title of it.
Future is Unknown.
Future is
or
Unknown.
The
something
future
like
is
that.
unknown. So
That was
Justin-
Randy.
Justin can pull
Randy
that up.
heard it.
Randy,
Pull off
what's
the side of the road,
Reynolds?
turns around, goes to my house, knocks on the door, and he goes, "You got to hear this now." And that's all he said. And I went, "Okay, it's that important. Come on in." We went straight up to the stereo room, put it in. We're up there howling, just howling at that.
What's that first line?
I ain't afraid of your husband, baby. I'm coming over tonight. It's like
That's
right
what
off the
comedy.
bat.
That's what comedy will do. It'll make you pull over to the side of the road. It'll make you drive to your friend's house and knock on their door and say,
It's funny how that.
"Just you got to hear this."
Yeah, you got to hear this now. Okay, I guess that, you know what? I'm not going to question it. It might be that important. Let's go check this out. And we were
man,
up there
it
for an
was-
hour. I mean, I was howling. I couldn't believe.
Well, the same thing happened to us when you
when I turned
you
it
brought
on to
it to
y'all.
us.
Oh,
It was
man.
like
I knew it was going to happen because I knew it
we
happened
were
to me.
dying. We were dying back there. It was just like, what the hell? Where did this come from? And for anybody that don't know about Unknown Henson, you just need to Google him, check him out.
Well, he's no longer. He stepped in it.
I kind of got into a little trouble
He
and
got in a
stuff.
bunch of trouble.
Oh, really?
But that first
This is-
album's a good album.
He got canceled.
Cancel culture.
Yep. He come out and said some stuff.
He was out there on the edge.
Said some stuff about Dolly Parton, and that's just something you do not.
The queen of country
'Cause
music.
He lost
Ladies
his
and gentlemen,
music
Dolly
career.
Parton.
He lost all his sponsors. He lost his Adult Swim Squidbillies show where
Wow.
he was the voice. He lost
Yeah.
everything. Now
Sponsorship for guitars and cases and amps and different stuff.
And now he's trying to be this other character.
Veg MacArthur or something.
Artful.
Artful. That's
but
it.
it's a play on Paul McCartney somehow
Wow.
about being vegetarian.
That's it.
That's the album.
That's
there.
that. When when Randy saw that, he went, "You know what? I'm buying this.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
That's right. I'm gonna buy this." And before he could make it to his house, he came to mine.
Yeah. Well, the guy, this was his alter ego. Of course, he was a brilliant session guitar player.
Yeah. He was in Billy Bob Thornton's band.
North Carolina or South Carolina?
North Carolina.
Danny somebody or was his
Baker.
Danny Baker.
Daniel Baker. Or
Danny
something.
Stewart Baker.
Yeah.
That's it.
And he just adopted this persona.
Pretty funny.
And it carried him for a few years. We met him.
Yeah.
That's
Hell,
right.
I helped him roll his equipment in the Hummingbird.
That was the
Then you
gig
fell over
that
it.
you won the talent contest or the
I
Tom
did.
Petty thing.
He fell onto
weekend.
they
That was
fell
that
onto the
weekend.
stage and over his amp, dressed up
Well,
like Tom Petty.
My top hat head hit the hard stage floor. Top hat head on a hard stage floor. I just leaned up against what I thought was a wall behind me. It was just nothing but
my
a
God.
flimsy stage
Oh, I
curtain.
didn't know this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I leaned up. We were having a conversation in that little hallway.
No.
And I leaned backwards and went all the way down.
I'm watching from the
Dave.
front, and all
Like
of
a
a sudden I
tree.
see Dave fall onto the stage. Like, oh no. They look like they could have just started kicking you in the head.
No, the drummer was up there. He probably just looked down there, didn't miss a
Oh.
beat. He said, "What the hell?"
I saw
Well, that
Unknown turn around like,
And that was the
That's
night
my
that I
amp.
was praying to God in the back
Were you there?
outside.
You were there
I was
that
He left
there
early.
Weekend. That whole weekend, I ended up. I just, me and Ty and Scotty would get into this thing where we're trying to do that. that Smokey and the Bandit tune, but then sing all
Eastbound
these
and Down.
different songs
Eastbound
to
and
those
Down.
lyrics.
Yeah, singing different
So
songs.
singing. So we're doing Billy Joel, and we're doing Stairway to Heaven, and we're doing all these things and drinking all afternoon and laughing and doing all this. And then now it's time to go down there and have that night, with the talent contest.
Mm-hmm.
Did we play that night?
We played the night before.
Okay, that's what it was. We played the night before, and then it was the talent contest the next night.
Yeah, we all
And
stayed over.
everybody dressed up. Of course, I didn't. I hate Halloween, folks. Anyway, so everybody, you were dressed up like Jesus, and
I didn't plan on dressing like Jesus. I just went to the mall in Macon where we were, and that was
Spencer's.
that's what you
Spencer's.
just did.
and that was
Okay.
like, well,
There's Jesus.
I guess there's-
there's Jesus hanging on the wall.
I guess
I
I'll
mean,
just.
that was
use
like the
that.
last one left. I mean, there was no more costumes, so I ended up being Jesus. But I'm a little chunky, so they were calling me Jerry Garcia.
Who are you?
Yeah, Unknown Henson bends down and he don't even have the mic up to his. He's on the stage. I'm standing on the floor, but he's like just in my ear, like, "Well, what are you?" I said,
I'm a prophet.
I said, I'm Jesus. And he said, boy, they're going to tear you apart. It's your Lord and Savior. Like into the microphone. And everybody starts going, boo. And I'm like, man, this is weird.
Booing Jesus.
Jesus, you ruined my life. And I said, whoa, hang on, buddy. I swear to
Peace
God.
be unto you.
Yeah. I was
That
like,
was
I didn't expect this
crazy
reaction.
Weekend, boy.
I expected people to get mad that I was dressed up like Jesus, but not
That
for
was
that
one of them
reason.
off the chain weekends,
Yeah.
and we had many, many, many of those.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And that was definitely one of the weekends right there. There
Well,
was a
that
lot
was-
of sub stories going on while the main story was going on. It was on a lot of these little branch out stories. Oh, by the way, did you know that this person and that person and they fell on the ground or something happened
Yeah.
here and
Blood.
their car is gone
Stitches.
and all these little subplots
So and so
to
put
just one
Beer
evening
bottle.
Somebody-
Kneecap.
or one weekend.
so and so's girlfriend put a cigarette out on their chest.
This guy comes out We know who they are, and I shouldn't say that. And backpedaling now.
Take a
but all
take a
I'm
beer
saying
ball
is
and break somebody's leg.
somebody was dressed up as a pirate.
Where's the bass player?
His girlfriend
He'll
was
be
not,
here.
It wasn't good.
He's riding
it was
his
just
motorcycle
a lot
up
of subplots going on.
Wow.
But that was one of them weekends.
Newfanglers in Macon.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of those gigs.
A lot of those
One night,
gigs.
remember, we had one motel room.
Oh,
And there was 13 people, I was sure, or more. But a bunch of people came up from Waycross to support us that night, but none of them have a place to stay.
yeah. I thought y'all was putting us up.
So we said, well, come on in the room. They ain't but 2 double beds, but we'll make do. And there was people all over the floor.
All over the floor.
I mean, you could not
On top of
walk.
each other.
I remember.
You couldn't get
walk
up out the
to the
bed if you were
bathroom.
lucky enough to get in the bed to get out and not step on somebody on the floor all the way to the bathroom.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah. All the way to the bathroom.
Yeah, it was like a sea of people.
ow!
Yeah.
Yeah.
One motel room. I mean, I don't even know how
That was the best Western on Riverside.
And 8 of them snoring.
Remember
Scotty
those
certainly
rooms?
was.
If you were real quiet, they would just creak all night long. Creak, 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 creak. It never ended. It's like, man, what in the hell? It's like torture. You couldn't take your mind off of it. I mean, I guess you could get in a state where you could take your mind off of it. You just pass out. But
And
creak and
the back porch lounge there in the Best Western, we closed that place down.
we got almost in trouble.
I mean, after the Hummingbird closed down,
Oh,
we'd go
yeah.
back there, and that place would be open at 4 a.m.
Yeah, it was weird that they were open that
happening?
late. It was weird. I never even thought about it.
It was
until
both.
now
It
in
was
a
both
way.
fortunate and unfortunate. All at the same
I mean, yeah, all fortunate and unfortunate all at the same time.
Well,
It was
we had
like-
some good trips up
we're
there.
like, yeah, it's a good time. Then we're like, oh man,
Y'all don't
It's
know what y'all
daylight.
are in for.
it's daylight. We got to drive home.
Of course, Macon being the rich town that it is, as far as musical heritage and all, we wound up at Rose Hill Cemetery. I know several times when we'd play up there, visiting the Allman Brothers' graves and
Yeah,
H&H Restaurant.
absolutely.
It's good times. Good
Yeah,
times.
Macon was a good gig for as long as it lasted. It was a good gig. And I played there with a lot of different people because I played there with you guys. I played there with,
Greg.
I know there was a gig that I played with y'all, but it wasn't necessarily Newfanglers.
We played there at Jack Cadillac all the time.
I know we did that. And I know I played with Chris there.
Probably carburetors.
Carburetors, but with you. Like a carburetor gig with you. So that would have been
me.
Paul, me,
I don't remember
you,
playing
Sean,
Carburetor.
and Reed.
I think it was a Newfoundler gig.
Maybe.
There was one
maybe.
Newfanglers where we decided we'd wear suspenders and
Yeah.
old time
That was the night Paul couldn't come. We didn't have a bass
fedoras.
player.
That's right. We
Then-
sat
then
there
was
in
I at that
chairs.
gig?
You
Yeah,
were?
we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did a broke down.
Stripped
Scotty.
down
Yeah,
kinda
stripped
thing.
down
Yeah.
Newfanglers.
Scotty, Reed, me,
Jo-
and Dave.
All
and
of
you.
us but Paul.
John Poe.
And John Poe.
I don't know if
Sometimes he was
on
there
that
and
one.
sometimes
I don't think he
wasn't.
was there at this
Not
one.
at that one.
Sometimes he was
It
there and
was Reed.
sometimes he wasn't.
I remember I got a picture of me and Reed and you
Yeah.
standing off stage there with our, it looked like we're
Suspenders.
throwback to the 30s.
That's
or
great.
20s or 30s.
I love that look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy.
So anyway, you know what's funny is I was thinking about this the other day. I've played duet gigs with both of you guys. I've played quite a few duet gigs with you, Dave, but I've played a lot of duet gigs with Sean. And I was thinking the other day about one of the gigs that you and I had played was a kind of it was kind of like we did the gig and that was it. And it wasn't no big deal, but we played this little private event It was one of the last gigs I played with you. You know what I'm talking about? Over there at the fairgrounds, but we were inside.
That's right.
The
Exchange
building
Club.
in that room in there.
Yeah.
And there was somebody's birthday or an anniversary, or there was something because there was food and stuff there, and we were the entertainment.
And I'm thinking it might have been a buddy of mine's birthday or no, I played his retirement party by myself, but this was me and you.
That's right.
That did that. It might have been the same guy. We just played his 50th birthday or something like that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one that stands out in my mind was the night that you came to Tipsy's.
The night you and I played at Tipsy's.
Yep. And you had your little stripped down setup going right there with
just
your drums.
Snare drum and bass
and
drum.
I sat in a chair to your right.
That's right.
And we just went at it, and you said, play nothing but originals. And I said, I can't do that. I'm scared.
Yeah, you can.
Scared.
Yeah, you can.
He kept
I got your back.
He
I got your back.
And that
Next
was
thing
the
you know,
funnest.
these people on the bar sat down at the table, and they're just staring at you. They're watching you more than me, and they're listening to the songs. And we took a break, and they came up to me because they knew me and were going, man, who is this guy? What the hell is it? You know, because it must have been one of the first gigs you played at Tipsy's.
I don't know, but
it
was damn fun. And at the end of it all, it was like, wow, that was great. That was fun. It was all original. And it's just it's a hard line for me to cross over for some reason. I have this mental block in my head that originals are not what the people are there for.
Yeah.
That kind of deal,
They don't know what they're there
stupid.
for.
It's stupid of me to
They
even
don't know what they're there. And but you know what?
Don't give them what
Dave,
they want. Give them what they need.
It's not like that's I mean,
give them what they need, Dave. They need that stuff.
And that's our motto here on Something in the Water podcast. Don't give them what they want.
need.
Don't be the hero they want. Be the hero they
need. There is a difference, and I love that. Absolutely. You guys with the original music, when I started playing over here, that's the stuff that kind of like, okay, so anybody can play. Why would I go to Waycross to play with some guys that I could play the same music in Brunswick almost?
Right.
It was because everybody was, Josh Kirkland's an incredible guitar player. Les Dell was a great guitar player. Oh my God, that guy. He had a tone that was that chime, that Strat chime, whatever tone. It was very good, excellent guitar playing. And I was like, there's something going on, but I'm going to stick my toe in the water instead of jumping in the deep end because I don't know what I'm dealing with. I don't know these people until I met Paul. That changed everything because me and Paul got along immediately. When in my memory, meeting him at Clyde's, we just got along. It was like kindred spirit, same sense of humor, totally get it, total bullshit. We just laughing and joking and cutting up. And through that became friends, through that became, and then turned me on to y'all. Again, with the fact that once I met y'all and then we started playing together, there was so many different little things that came out of all of that, including Jack Cadillac and the Carburetors. And the Carburetors, the thing that was cool about that was that it was kind of a free-for-all with you and Paul, me, Reed, and John. That would be the ultimate Carburetor band.
I was,
and
never
there were
into
gigs where we played.
I think what he's, Dave, you would show up at these.
You would show up and play, and maybe you weren't in the band, but you were definitely there.
Sure, yeah. That was when things
and you would be sitting in with half the damn songs we're doing.
Yeah.
So I guess it was kind of like you were playing with us that night. But free for all stuff By the way, there's some people out there that's got recordings of that stuff.
I got some on a crashed computer. I got to get off of there. But yeah,
There's
there's
two
some
guys out there
Corey's-
that's got some recordings of that
computer.
stuff.
my computer.
Your computer. Corey's got an old Yamaha, similar to the one that we recorded.
Oh, you're talking about a console. I'm talking about an actual desktop computer.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, but Corey's got the same model that we recorded Newfanglers on, with issues. That's got a lot of old back stuff, and there's probably more people than.
I'm
than
telling
that.
you, I know
Yeah.
2 people right now that
Really?
definitely have
Call 'em out.
recordings of those.
Call them out right now.
Well, Chad,
Wonky.
yeah, definitely he's
Mulkey?
got recordings,
Wow.
and so
Larry.
does
Larry Osborne.
Larry,
Okay. Yeah, and Larry
because they set
probably
up those recordings.
Larry's
you know.
probably got his right there where
Yeah.
he can.
He was always recording with that little Zoom.
Yeah, I don't remember. I do remember the Zoom. I do remember that now that I think about it. That's like that
archives.
first generation stuff or whatever, right when that stuff kind of came out. But definitely recording. You know, I know Matt Williams. has
Mini
got-
disc and stuff.
I was in a
think.
band with Matt where we did a lot of Grateful Dead stuff. It was kind of a Grateful Dead tribute band. And he set up some recordings. But I also remember that it was always, when he'd go back and listen to it, something would be a lot louder than something else. Or, you know, I was singing off key, or somebody was singing, you know, whatever was going on at these moments. So you'd like, you don't want to release that because you're embarrassed. You don't want to hear, everybody wants to hear that. So, but you never know about live recordings. I know that there's some stuff that we did. I remember me and Paul making these $5 bets who was going to be going into reggae before the person was going to go into reggae. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be me? I'll bet you $5. You know, I don't know. I guess what would the bet be? Because it would be like, well, hell, I'll just not do it and win the $5.
Right.
So I don't. Maybe it wasn't that, but I just remember us talking about it. Like, I know, John. I bet you $5 he'll go into that reggae beat before I will. It's like, well, maybe I won't. I don't know. But we would always go into
we would
jam.
we would start a song, and we did this with Jack Cadillac too, or Carburetors, where you start a song and then in the middle you get off in some tangent, and it would go for so long that
You would forget what song
somebody,
you were
and it was usually John Pope, I think, would be like, "Go back into the chorus." I'm like, "What chorus? What
Yeah.
song are we
playing.
playing?"
What song are we doing?
And then he'd say, and I'm like, "Oh, I forgot we was even playing that." And then go back into it and end the song.
There was,
But it was
clip.
good. It was.
Good
It wasn't
stuff.
like. It wasn't like just. Oh, they just trashed or whatever. It was
That's good stuff.
good stuff.
There was a video clip that I watched of y'all's performance at the Capitol in Macon when you opened up for Jason Isbell.
Yeah, that was a big gig.
And there was a song, and there was a John Pope solo in that
Evidence.
song,
And it was
Yeah.
incredible.
and it was just like
Yeah,
I ain't never
he called a gear
before or
It was
after.
like- yeah, it was like some Egyptian.
It was an Egyptian mode
That's right.
lead. You know, it was like, what the hell was that?
But he had never played it like that ever.
never.
I mean, like he got to this
And he's
point.
probably never played it since.
It's like the music was like building up, and then it got to this point, and it was just like it all spilled out. And it was
Yeah,
like,
That's
oh
that magical
man.
moment.
Great. That was
You can
great.
load up Jack Cadillac Evidence.
Yeah. And
on
that's
YouTube.
still out there.
It's on YouTube.
Oh man, I got to rewatch that.
Black
Maybe,
and white.
maybe we can get it up on this
Yeah, you can pull it up. And
this program for a
And that was an incredible
song
gig.
break.
yeah, we had a pretty good gig that night. We were on top of the world.
We were on top of it. We were very,
boy.
very tight.
Yeah.
It was a good gig. There is somewhere almost a complete performance of that gig.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably some of the Waycross people.
Somebody
Musical
recorded it.
Mystery number 52. Where is that Jack
Well, who
Cadillac
recorded that
gig?
segment?
Jimmy Stratton did the
Stratton.
two videos that are
Okay.
on YouTube.
Okay.
But there was somebody recorded with a mini disc or a Zoom or something.
There's video and audio recordings of all of
I
that.
remember it being real, peeking out on the recording, but you could hear what was going on.
Okay, I see what you mean. Peeking out a little bit.
It wasn't like, hey, you could release this as an album, but I mean, you could listen back and go, oh, we did all right or we didn't. But
Right.
real blasted out.
We did good. I remember not having whoever ran sound that night at that gig.
I think it was Catfish.
Was it Catfish?
I believe so.
Oh, well, then I knew we were going to be okay.
Yeah.
He
never happened
he
to
is
Catfish.
the best monitor guy ever.
He would
I've
dial
never
you
played
in,
with any.
boy.
I've
He had
never
it
ran
dialed
with a
in.
sound
I
man.
don't know where he is. What is
He
I
was
mean, I don't
Steve.
even care, man. That story all about George George Washington's teeth.
What?
There was this night that I was in the I'm going to try to clean this up. There was a night that I was in the Hummingbird with Greg playing a gig. Great gig, no problem. Catfish running sound. Me and Catfish and Greg are heading that way. We're heading that way hard and laughing and joking and cutting up and drinking. And this girl comes up and said, I would like to meet you guys. Whatever she said, something. Maybe you could give me a ride home later or something. She said something kind of weird. And Catfish went, hey, you crazy. You need to get out of here. You're crazier than a house rat.
Yeah.
Was that okay?
You can cuss. You can
I don't
cuss.
want to cuss.
You
You're
can cuss.
crazier than a shit house rat.
Yeah.
He just looked at her. You're crazier than a shit house rat. Get out of here. She
must
just
have-
walked away.
He must have
laughing.
knew her.
She and walked away. And I was like, Greg, I was like, what was that? What just happened? And Catfish is like, man, I see that crazy bitch in here all the time, man. She's crazier than you shit house rat, I'm telling you. I'm like, okay, I get it. Catfish. I had a lot of good times with Catfish.
He was a good sound man. I'll
and
tell
best
you.
sound man. I mean, best monitored. I mean,
Yeah,
sound. He
yeah.
definitely was a good sound man.
He could dial in monitors.
But there's
in,
no
yeah.
doubt that monitor mix that I would have behind that drums was magical. It was magical. It's why you could, in the Hummingbird, you could get creative. You could musically go to that next place because that monitor mix was ridiculous. I'm not saying that you can't do it without it, but when it's really good like that, you can hear everything. It was like, oh, okay. It's almost like playing in the studio or something. I don't know. It was weird. Really good. Sounded incredible. Every time Catfish ran sound.
Yeah.
And even if he got tore up, it didn't matter. He still did the job. Or
Those-
for me, it was.
Those were some fine times up there in that.
Good times. Good times.
Early,
Good times here in
early
Waycross.
2000s. Early 2000s.
A lot of gigs. We played a lot of gigs together for quite a long time, too.
That was back when what's his name owned it or managed it.
Vic.
Oh,
Damn.
what was Vic's last name? Wow, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
if you would have never told me,
I know. It's like just because I'm trying to think about it.
you'd have never told me, I would have
But
told you.
anyhow,
Wow, I cannot think of Vic's name.
uh,
I remember that restaurant when we first started playing there. That restaurant across the street had the greatest sweet tea. Oh my
is it
god!
Mexican place?
Yeah,
The Mexican
that
restaurant?
sweet
Yeah.
tea was. I don't, it's only sweet tea. What the hell am I talking about? But man, it was that good.
Yeah.
It was that good. That was the first time I put limes in sweet tea too. They did the lime thing. And that's a different ball game than lemons, folks. It's a different ball game completely. But yeah, go in there, go into that restaurant, eating, going back to the club, shoot a few shots, few beers, let's go, boom, get on stage, bam.
Mm. And then wind up at the Best Western for the after party and
carrying on. Good stuff.
Breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, that was where I ended up writing that song the next day when we went to Longhorns.
Yes.
And we had Bloody Marys because it was
struggling.
You had to
Mary
have
morning.
a Bloody Mary.
You had to. We were
And
all
I looked and
struggling.
it was a table full of us, and right across from me was Scotty Nicholson. He had this big old
David
beard
Crosby.
and walrus mustache, and it looked like David Crosby's. And he took a big old swallow of that Bloody Mary, and it was dripping down from his upper lip. And so I had this song. I've got a David Crosby mustache on a Bloody Mary morning at a Denny's on the south side of town. And that one line came from that visual, And but the song talks about the Newfanglers gigs in Macon.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
Crazy gigs. Good times.
So, talking about songwriting now, you've written some too, right?
I have.
Yeah. Just recently.
I've written
probably.
a couple of songs here lately.
Good.
I'm doing one that I'm playing kind of normally. I'm not playing tonight because yesterday I got that COVID shot, that second one, and my arm is like, it should be in a sling right now.
I got my second one
Killing
today.
me.
Oh,
Well, tomorrow.
I still got the
Hopefully
bandage
you
on.
won't be hurt.
man. Y'all just,
Well, we're doing what we got to do.
yeah.
It's no
Is
big
it
deal
sore?
to me. Yeah, it's killing me.
Lynn got her first yesterday, and was fine until last night, and she started hurting, and woke up today nauseated, dizzy, and sore all over.
Really?
And I looked up the side effects,
And that's what they
those
were.
are everyone in the normal side effects.
Well, I was struggling a little bit today, but I got over it. It wasn't that bad. It didn't have me. I mean, if it would have been like
Which one did you get?
the Pfizer,
Pfizer?
the Pfizer.
That's what I got.
Y'all got Pfizer.
Pfizer.
I got Moderna.
I didn't ask. They just give me what they give me.
They gave me what they gave me, but it seemed like, I don't know, I could be wrong, but it seemed like at the health thing there in Brunswick, they asked me
Choice.
if I wanted a choice. Yeah, I don't remember anything about the Johnson and Johnson.
Well, they've pulled that one now.
Oh,
Really?
have they?
They have pulled it.
I
yeah.
think
It's not good,
when
or
I
what?
first got my
Well, there's been some very, very rare cases of women, all women, having a blood clotting kind of thing in the brain.
no,
Oh,
so
that's not
it's
good. Yeah, let's
it's
stop
so
that.
so minute. The number of
Okay.
people that had it, but they said the best
They
thing
still
for
gotta-
us to do
can't
is
take a
just
chance.
pull this one down.
I got mine done at Walgreens, and I said he was, going into detail about, well, if you start feeling whatever, call 911. And I'm like saying it so much that I'm like, hey, how many cases you got to go bad? I said, we hadn't had any.
Yeah,
Well, then why the hell are you acting like that?
He said, we just got to tell y'all that. And
they
I'm like,
have
well,
to.
And
Well, I guess
but it made me feel better
disclaimer.
that he hadn't had.
Right.
He said the only when they had anything, and it wasn't to do with the vaccination. It was the lady was scared of needles, and so she was like a little fainty after the fact. But
and I understand that.
it didn't
I don't
have
like
anything to
needles
do
at
with
all.
the vaccine.
So that's affected your. In other words, you won't be able to strum a guitar today.
If I
right?
had a gig, if I had a gig tonight, I wouldn't be able to play it, and that would be messed up.
Yeah.
But holding my guitar, my hand up, and then it's not doing it. It's keep it there,
Right.
and it's like, I can feel it in my shoulder, and I can feel it in my arm. It feels like today, there's moments where it feels like you got mad at me and took a baseball bat and hit me on the arm.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm sure
starting to
that's-
get that sore.
You can feel
it
it.
got like that the
You
first
can
time
feel it.
too.
And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you turn into, you know, you're just like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
that
it was
hurts. I
hard to
can feel
sleep
it.
for about 3 nights with
Well,
me
last night
laying
was
on my
rough.
side. It was just like, oh,
Last
God.
night was rough because it kept waking. Every time I moved, I could feel it, and it would wake me up, and you know. But
Well, that's something that everybody out there, I'm sure,
that's
is
all it is. I
experiencing.
mean,
We're
it really
all
isn't
going
that
through
bad.
that together. It's a hell of a time that we just lived through,
Debilitating
folks.
experience, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's better than dying.
That's exactly
or
right.
killing.
So
you.
how'd
I mean,
your,
whatever we
folks.
need, whatever you need to do, let's just go ahead
How'd
and
your
do it and be done with it.
situation go with the pandemic? You, among the three of us, you were probably the most prolific gigger out of the three of us. You kept your gigs. You'd
Well-
have 4 gigs a week.
Let me explain that. When the pandemic hit, that weekend, I had a bunch of gigs. I mean, it was like 4 or 5 in a 3-day period or something, doing doubles.
Mm-hmm.
But right after that weekend, and then I played that Sunday and then played again that Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And that Wednesday, it shut down right then. So all my gigs,
Just
I lost
fell-
all that.
fell
Of
off.
course, all that lost.
Fell
But
off the
then
calendar.
September, well, actually August, things started coming back a little bit. Then September came back.
Mm-hmm.
And then October and November, we played.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into December, I still had a few gigs, had some gigs in January and in February. And then, weirdly enough for me, March and April have been kind of nothing like it would have normally been.
Well, still
I
catching up.
But there's no doubt the COVID and the shots and everything that's going on. There's clubs we lost.
Yeah.
And then there's clubs that aren't really doing music anymore, or maybe for now.
Right.
And then there are clubs that are doing music, but maybe they're only doing the solo or the duet thing or something. And then there are other clubs that they're doing bands. It's no big deal. But it's a different time, definitely. We're dealing. I'm just rolling. It's like a musician out at sea, just rolling with the waves.
Well, that's
I'm busy. I'm not. I'm
that's
busy.
all
I'm
that
not.
you
I'm
do,
busy.
though,
I'm
right?
not.
That's all that you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
That was your only job. So
That started back in
were you able to connect with the federal?
When I stopped playing with Eric, I had a year off and I got a real job, laying tile, doing construction or whatever, not playing music, and kind of didn't want to, man. I was cool with laying tile and working. I was okay with it. And then something kept bugging me, like guilty conscience feeling, where it would just kind of gnaw at me a little bit. Like in the back of your head, in the back of your mind, there's something you're supposed to do and you're not doing it. And it would just stay back there a little bit, just constantly gnawing at me. But in the back, I'm like, what the hell? And am I guilty for what? I just couldn't. And then I finally figured it out. I'm not playing music. I'm not playing music. And that was the problem. And it kept gnawing and eating and gnawing at me to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. But then I was like, I guess what it came down to is that I'm one of those individuals that's lucky that if you believe in this or not, I was born with a talent. I knew when I started playing drums that I could do it. I just knew I could do it, even though I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I could do it. Just teach me. I remember saying to that teacher, just show me how to do that. I know I can do it. And it kind of pulled at me, yep, you're a drummer. You're a drummer, or you're a musician that plays drums or whatever it is. And I could do it. I just had to learn, the fundamental stuff. But once you learn that, it's just, now I know what to do, but I already knew I could do it. It's just knowing what to do and where to place it and what to do with it.
And now you can't get you to do shit.
And shit, can't even do shit.
Who was that teacher?
Well, the first teacher was, and it's good to have, folks, it's good to have that teacher, that one guy, that spark, that dude, somebody, that woman, that man that gives you the positive encouragement that you're supposed to have to learn how to do whatever it is you want to do. It could be anything, but you got to have that positive reinforcement. Sure does help. And that guy was Mickey Wendell. And he plays, or he did play trombone in, I think it was the Jekyll Island Symphony, but he taught music at Jane Macon.
And he taught drum?
He taught band.
Okay.
And I learned playing drums through him.
Oh,
really.
it was your school instructor?
Schooling.
Okay.
Yeah, being in school. I didn't ever have any private lessons until like right after I graduated high school. I had a little bit of private tutoring right off the bat, and it was probably a bad idea. I should have waited a year and then did it because I'd already been schooling. And then now I'm going to school some more, but this is my time. I've graduated high school and you're going to tell me, okay, now what do you need to do? You know what? Screw that. I'm not doing that. So 6 months, it didn't last. And I'm like, nope. I want to get a drum set and I want to get with some guys and I want to learn how to play in a band. I want to play these songs that I've been hearing. I know I can do this. Come on. And it was the search of who's the guitar player and who's the bass player and who am I going to play with? And I found the guys and we learned, I went through what I call my Hamburg.
Oh,
and what that means is for 2 years at least, maybe 3, but I know for 2, from April till September, I played at a club called Peelers on Jacksonville Beach. In front of Peelers was a club called, I'm going to forget the name of the club now. Famous people play there all the time. It was right on Jack's Beach.
Freebird?
No, I can't remember the name of it now. Indiglo Club? No, was that it? I don't remember. Doggone it. Anyway, we played at this club called Peelers, but the story is we played there Friday, Saturday during the day, Saturday during the night, Sunday, every weekend from April to September for 2 years in a row. So that's where I learned how to sing behind the drums, sing a song. The guitar player could sing, I could sing. The way we did it at the beginning was, well, he'd sing one and I'd sing one, and he'd sing one and I'd sing one. So to try to split it up or whatever, Every now and then you were like, okay, you know what? I can do 2 in a row, and then you do one. I'll give you, and you take a break or whatever. And I remember he having bottles of Listerine on the amp. And he would just be gargling Listerine and spitting it in a cup and then turn around and singing and playing. And because we're just raw now. You started out Friday night, but now it's Sunday. Just shot, burned. And I went from having tender fingers to getting blisters to getting calluses to going back to smooth again.
God.
It went all the way around, and I would have like duct tape on my fingers, not knowing that when you go to peel it off, it just peels that blister back off. And so it'd just be raw skin all the time. I'm putting like napkins and stuff on it, and that's not what you do, Where's the Band-Aid at, Band-Aids wouldn't stay on your finger. You're sweating and stuff. So it almost turned into just wood on skin and get tough, because what else are you going to do? Band-Aids don't work. You're sweating. It's just going crazy. None of it's going to work. So you just tough through it. And, but anyway, that was what I called my Hamburg, because I learned how to sing and play behind drums, and I learned kind of how to play drums then,
And what you mean by Hamburg is the Beatles?
Yep.
Hamburg, the Beatles. The Beatles going to Hamburg, and
that's where they
turned into.
They
turned into.
They played
new
4
band.
years over there, playing like from It was just
I
ridiculous.
know we all knew
hours.
that. I just wanted to explain
Right.
to
The
whoever's.
other people may not know what I'm talking about.
So you talked, and now earlier you talked about how you were exposed to a lot of different styles, a lot of different groups, a lot of different music, and that is one of the best things for any musician. As far as when you're in your learning phase, because you're
Listen to everything.
Yeah, and because you can pull from it all, and make it a part of you. So, with that in mind, who would you say? 2 questions. You're, in your opinion, best drummer of all time.
That's a
Lord.
tough one. That's just so hard, There's 3 I can name,
Okay.
maybe.
3.
It's going to be,
I can't name the best of anything.
Well, I mean, I can think of players that are better than these players are, but I guess it's a personal thing. Like
Yeah.
Your
Just
these
your opinion,
drummers
your
that, in my
opinion.
opinion, and kind of influenced me a lot.
Yeah.
And it's Charlie, Ringo, and John Bonham.
Okay.
That's
good.
maybe
That's
not
3
even
good
in
ones.
that order.
That's
It might be
Beatles,
John first, even though I'm a
Beatles,
big
Rolling Stones,
and Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin.
But as a young man coming up, listening to that stuff, and then it ingraining in your head, and then when you're playing that kind of song, I wanted to sound like they sounded. So I would try to emulate what I'm hearing. Although there were times, especially as a young drummer, listening to myself recording, and in my mind, I thought that I'm just playing the beat, man, playing the beat. And you go back and listen to it, and it's boom boom tap boom 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 tap boom 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 tap boom ting 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 boom tap boom boom tap boom diddle diddle diddle, and it just never ends. And I'm like, shoot me. What are you doing? What is the problem?
too busy.
Way too much. Way too much. It's tough to be a drummer and just play a beat.
Yeah.
Be consistent, be right, feel the groove, and just play that beat. And that's it. Take the tom away, take the cymbal away, whatever it takes. Just play that beat. Can you do it? I can't. There's a lot of them that cannot do it. And it's a shame because it is just really all you need is the hi-hat, the snare drum, and the bass drum. If you can't make it work with that, then, you need to go back home or, figure it out.
It's that
Go back to
that
the
ego
house.
that wants to play all that.
Who's going to be in Rush? Nobody I know. We're playing all these, restaurants? They're not even any gigs anymore. There's not a place that any of us play that is a bar, and it's just a bar, and that's it. They don't serve food. It's just a bar, a stage and a bar. And it's a nightclub. Gig don't even start till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. None of us play that anymore. We're all playing restaurants, 1 to 4, 5 to 8. Man, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But it doesn't conduce a rock and roll show. Yeah. So you find another way to be able to play music under
like
those situations.
It's kind of like how
you do it.
Pine Box came about. It was, my songs from Jack Cadillac is what I just
originally
said. Okay, let's sit the electric down. Let's do the cajon, and it was like let's break
it down,
stuff down,
and still be able to play those songs.
Yeah, and then we wrote in that style as well. But it started from it was like axle grease and gasoline. Oh, let's just make it acoustic.
And I mean, you still can play the same thing. You can still do the same song. You can just break it down, and it's cool. I wonder if that MTV Unplugged had anything to do with that stuff back then, because I do remember watching that Clapton one and a couple of other ones. Oh my God.
I loved every single one of them.
By that. Yeah, every single one of them were good.
Even bands I didn't like, I was like,
I
this is
still
amazing.
liked it. Yeah.
I think it's getting there out of necessity now.
That's exactly right.
With the pandemic having a big influence on it. And,
you know,
2-piece bands.
Then prior to that, you had the guy that moved in on St. Simon's that bitches every time somebody
plays it
hits a
the Brogan's South deal,
mellow mushroom.
There's
one over by
now it's affecting Palm Coast.
Affected Palm Coast.
Place on the corner.
Over by we were playing at Porch and had a guy come up and
that's right.
an old guy. I thought he was going to have a heart attack, screaming at me.
God.
And I was like, "Whoa, man! It's 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday.
God,
I'm sorry you can't hear The Price is Right." Golly, man.
You could just ask, hey, what's going on here?
We weren't even that loud. It was just like, come on, man. We're just two guys in the courtyard out here.
But that's
what
affecting.
in the world is going on out here?
I worked my whole life to move to the center of attention. And like, you're going to move to the village?
Yeah. Right at the pier.
Yeah.
Where
if you got this much money, you go down the road a little bit.
Live in the busiest part of the island.
Get on down the road a little bit.
I won't cry.
Since I moved over here, they're all going to shut down. That's what's happening.
I don't know what this guy's name is, but Lord, if we did, it'd be good to get him on this podcast.
I think there's more than one. I think there's an army of them down there.
Yeah, there's probably several.
Well, let's take a little break and we'll come right back. I need to get a drink. And
we'll be right back, folks, with Lee O'Neill.
Something in my brain won't let me stray. Something in my veins gonna find its way. Something in the water taught me how to pray. When that cold black water finds its way into your veins, you'll never be the same.
Put your money on the table, your drugs, and you knock it down. Tell my baby she don't like it down. Tell my baby she don't like it. You gotta tip the fence, keep your eyes in the sockets and down. Tell my baby she don't like it down. Tell my baby she don't like it. You gotta pull out the side of the road. For the evidence in a hole, boy, for the evidence in a hole.
So, in the words of my old co-worker, Boise Brown, hot almighty no. that was
a fun gig, man.
Whew. Here's
That was a gig.
one half of the band that you just watched, folks. On that was if that didn't scramble your eggs and shave your legs, I don't know. Oh man, the other two guys in that group on bass was Sean's nephew.
Yeah, Brandon Doty on bass and John Pope on lead guitar.
John Pope on lead guitar.
That killer Middle Eastern whatever
That's,
thing he had going.
Casablanca
Ridiculously top notch
modal, and you were
kicking
there.
butt.
And you were there.
And I was actually there.
I saw you. What was that like, y'all? I mean, just that, not that particular moment, but that whole night. I mean,
How did we
what
even
was
get that gig?
Vic.
How about that?
Yeah, he said,
Old Vic from the Hummingbird.
he said, "Hey man, how would y'all like to open up for Jason
Vic
Isbell?"
Stanley.
Vic Stanley.
There you go.
He said, "How would y'all like to open up for Jason Isbell?" And it was his first time out. He just left the Truckers, Drive-By Truckers, and we're like,
Doing his solo thing.
"Are you kidding? Yes, we'll do that."
What year was that?
Yeah.
2014?
10 or 15 years ago? I don't know. It all blends together.
2009 or 10.
Yeah.
What was some of the
That sounds right.
Some of
Something
the
around
things
there.
you remember
You know,
I
playing a
think
lot of
about
gigs
2009
together.
or 10.
happening at that gig?
Videos from 2007.
2007.
Well, then that's when it was.
That's when it was.
2007.
So we got there. I remember getting there early and
that
setting
was
up.
at the
It's the Cox Capitol at the time. Now it's the Hallgrave.
old.
What's the new name of it?
It's something like that. It's still the capital.
It's
Vintage theater in Macon.
Yep. So at the time it was the Cox Capitol Theater in
right.
Hargraves, I think now. But we got there early and Jason was back there and I remember talking to him and he was real cool and he was talking about he used to work at a firework factory or something. I remember him talking to me about. And then we played. You talked to him too backstage.
I remember, we got there, we got set up, got a kind of a sound check, and then we had some time. There was, I don't know, 30 minutes or something. And at some point I walked around backstage and Jason was standing there and it was all about teas. He was talking to me about different teas that he would drink to clear his throat, to be able to sing. And it was all these different teas. And then he made a tea and offered me one. And I'm like, no, you need to drink that because I'm not singing at all tonight. And, the more for you, the better or whatever. I mean, I don't want to take your tea stuff, but plus I'm drinking beer. I was catching a buzz a little bit before we played, but that was a phenomenal gig. That was, there's some of that footage in black and white. There's some of that footage in color. I don't know. Didn't we only play for about 30 minutes or something? Or maybe we played an hour? Did we play an hour?
We at least played an hour for sure because there was 3 bands that night.
Oh, there was.
There was a band before us, and then us, and then Jason.
Oh, no, I didn't remember there was a band.
I can't remember.
Well, those guys were efficient because that stage was clear when we got there. I just set up my drums real quick. Got a sound check. We were ready to go. Everybody was on. Everybody could hear everybody. Okay. 30 minutes, something. Boom. Then we got up and played. And not only was that a great gig, but then after the gig, we all went down to the Hummingbird. And Jason came down there.
Yeah,
and
they
we
were
hung
down
out.
there.
We took a picture with him and hung out with him. And it was way cool.
Yeah,
it was a good time. It's a good time. Phenomenal gig. One of those gigs that, you'll never forget.
It was a good night.
And, luckily, there wasn't any stupid, shit that went down that night.
Yeah,
I mean,
nothing.
we played a good gig. They played a good gig. We saw them later, had a lot of fun. The end. It wasn't like, but that one dude, he got all messed up and threw up all over the dude's shoes, or it wasn't any of that.
There was a lot of Waycross folks there that night too, because
There was.
they came out to support.
That was a big gig. And that was important. I remember, I was probably the one going, man, what the hell are we doing? What have you drugged me into now?
How far
And
away is
actually,
this?
that was a great gig.
How far are we going for a cheese sandwich, Sean?
You knew who Jason Isbell
First
was.
of all,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Drive-By Truckers, I definitely knew who Drive-By Truckers was.
Right.
And I think when this happened, it wasn't short. It was shortly after he had just quit that band. Or,
yeah, this was their first time out.
Okay, he was
as a
just
solo.
doing his solo gigs then.
In the Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. Yep.
Good gig, good time, big crowd, awesome. You can't really get into magic of music sometimes when you're playing a gig and you're being controlled. Don't play too loud. Don't do this. Don't do that. That's a gig. You just play, you get paid, you go home.
Almost like a
That
robot.
gig right there, that was more of the artistic side of being able to play music.
What you got, boys? Do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's that when you get to that level, when you're on the stage opening up for
It's
a
a concert.
big name like that, it's more of a concert type feel
In
and
that
everything.
theater
and you
gig.
could take it and ride it. And y'all were definitely on that horse in that performance right there. That was, you could sense, you could feel it, you could hear, you could see it.
Luckily,
the magic.
by the time we played that gig, we had already had so many gigs under our belt that we were able to not be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like,
Yeah, we were playing all the time.
Well, that was totally improvisation.
let's
right
just
there.
jam. Yeah,
But
we
like
can.
all of
but-
our shows-
but you can't do that
But
unless
you
you play a
never,
lot.
you had never rehearsed that.
Oh no,
That just happened.
But we know every night that just, I mean, maybe not to that extent.
Yeah.
of quality.
but every night we.
but
would-
every night we were making it up.
Right.
I mean, we had
song
we had
structure,
basic
but within
structure.
that structure,
But
you
we
could
could-
go
you
off.
could go
but there was
off.
no set solo or a set
Mm-hmm.
jam. We just, all right, we're going this way tonight.
Right. You're just feeling it. It's groove and it's feeling it. If we wouldn't have felt it, the song would have done its thing, and then we would have just kind of ended the song, and that would have been the end of that.
When we got into that whole
another one.
when it got
Yeah.
broke down and real tight, we'd never done that.
We had never done that before.
It
We
was
were just
just-
feeling.
Just going.
It's just it just happened, and that's riding that wave. That's that magical, beautiful thing. That's what we all strive to get to, that point of getting that magic going. That's magic. That's what when you do that, that's the stuff right there. That's what you're wanting
That's
to
what
do.
that's what you play for.
Sadly enough, there's that's the thing about that, when you're playing for a living, there's gigs that you play that I kind of call it like mowing grass. You're just mowing the lawn. You do the job the best of your ability, you get paid, and you go home. That's just the way that gig is. But don't let it upset you. You're working. So shut up, play the gig, do
keeping
the
the lights
thing, go
on,
home.
and then
Boom. Then there's other gigs where you get to creep into the cool stuff. You get to jam a little bit.
Those are the gifts.
And that's what you're playing for,
what about the me and you playing the creek back in the day when nobody would be listening to us and stuff?
Oh, man. And you and I were talking about this just recently.
You turn your back on the audience.
Yeah, that was great. So we're playing this gig at the creek. Me and Sean have been playing with the Jack Cadillac, but John and Brandon went to college, and I'm coming in from Brunswick. Me and Sean still want to play,
So we were in Jack Cadillac, but we started the Black Jacks as like a Jack Cadillac light.
That's kind of like Jack Cadillac 2-piece.
Yeah.
Not going to be the same, but could be just as good or different. You know, it's just
Play
it
the
was
same
just the two
songs,
of
just
us.
do it without
Right.
the sprinkles.
And sprinkling in songs that we didn't really do with Jack Cadillac. Maybe they were more of an acoustic natured kind of thing. So we did that. And when we started playing those gigs at the Creek, at the time, and I remember there was a little bit of because I experienced this with Josh too, first time. You set up, you play the gig, you do this song, nothing. You do this song, what I mean is no clapping.
Yeah.
So you do this song, you play your butt up, down, bam, bam, nothing. So you go to the next song. I remember playing those gigs with Josh, and Josh turned around and looked
And
at
you're
me
breaking
going,
out the hits.
what the hell do you want to do? I mean, what the hell? What are we going to do? What do you want to do?
Purple Rain,
I'm like,
nothing.
the next song. The next song. Just
Pride
do
and
the
Joy,
next
nothing.
song.
Well,
Just do the next song. And when it was, I remember one of the first gigs I did at the Creek with Josh. After the first set, I walked up to Lita, and it was packed, right? I walk up to Lita, and I say, I'm sorry. This is a complete failure. I'm willing to go ahead. Let's break down. We'll get on out of here. Any tab that I owe you, I'll pay you. And could you just give me $25 for gas or $50 and we'll just call it even and we're done. And she's looking at me and laughing. I don't know. She didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, these people do not care about this band at all. They are not into it. Mm-hmm. So we should just cut our losses and get the hell out of here. Honey, they're digging you. It's all good. They just don't clap. They got to get drunk.
That's it.
And that's really what it was. The people were digging the band. They just don't clap.
Yeah.
So fast forward, you and we're playing as a duet at the Creek. This is the old Creek. We're playing a gig. Sean just gets up off stage, walks outside, slams the door and walks outside. I don't know what's going on.
I don't remember that.
So I walk out, I'm like, what is going on? They're not paying attention to anything we're doing. I mean, I could play anything from reggae to, it just didn't matter. They're not paying attention to anything we're doing. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, they're not leaving. And that's the only thing I could hang on to was that, well, they're not leaving. So, but it's like a musical kind of a boot camp thing of learning that just because they're not clapping doesn't mean that they're not listening or they're not digging it.
That's something that you do. You learned over the years of playing.
But it screws with you.
Yeah,
It
at that time,
It'll
I was
screw with
young
you
and just
real
like,
bad.
"Bye."
It's
Like, Jesus,
usually goes
do I
one
suck?
set.
What's going
If
on?
you can last that first set, then the drink starts flowing and everybody gets lubricated and they just relax.
Sean,
and they
one
start
of the
paying
gigs
more
that we
attention.
got to, he just turned around, showed up, grabbed the chair, put it on the stage, facing me. I've got a drum set. He's looking at me. He's like, screw them. I've had enough of them. That's it. I'm done. So we're going to go over songs. We're going to actually use it like a rehearsal. Do-diddle-diddle-doodle. All right, that's that part. So do-diddle-diddle. And I want you to come in right there. All right, do-diddle-diddle-doodle.
Y'all rehearsing
Okay,
it
yeah, we're
in front of the
totally
crowd.
rehearsing
But
at the gig.
Stopping and
Screw the
starting.
people.
But they're not like what they're like
They're not
loud.
even, they're not
yelling.
even, yeah, they're loud.
We're like
they're
They
talking.
were oblivious to even that.
Even that.
But that
But what happened was they started, it was like,
They're like, why
well,
aren't they
what are
paying-
y'all doing
Yeah.
turning your back to us?
Yeah.
What the hell are y'all
Eventually
doing?
they caught on.
And then
huh?
the next thing you know, they're calling out songs. They're singing to the lyrics. They've been listening the whole time, but they don't show it. So when Sean turns his back to them, then they want to know what the hell's going on. What the hell are y'all doing? And Sean had the attitude at that point of, screw y'all, I'm done with y'all. So we're doing this gig this way, and at least I can enjoy this. And it was so ballsy, so brave, so awesome. So we turned them right around. Ignored them. We ignored them. And then they turned back on us and went, well, what the hell? Well, then play Evidence. They'll do Evidence. We're not doing that song right now. We're doing this one. And we just do something else. You know, it was great.
And then they started hollering.
And the next thing you know.
Chow. Mike
Yeah,
Chow.
right. Make a show. They got into it. Next thing you know, it wasn't that anymore. I mean, me and Sean were playing to that packed house, and they were digging everything we're doing. To the point of people, when I would pull up, Lee, what's up, man? They'd be outside. Let me help you with your drums. And it was this whole thing about helping me with my drum stuff. And it's like, look, I got it. Well, let me at least open the door. Well, that'd be great. Yeah, open the door. Well, let me grab that. No, man, please.
Don't that
dude,
just piss you off when people try to help you?
I mean, and it sounds like such an asshole thing, but you know how easy it is to lose that cable or lose that stand or lose that felt.
Yeah.
One little thing.
Okay, you brought
It'd be an
that
accident.
stand in, but the felt and the wing nut and all that's gone. What the
But
hell,
not really
man?
understanding the importance of that rug.
You know, yeah, they don't get it. They have no idea. They just want to help. I'm like, look, man, open the door. Let me get it. I got it. And keep everybody off of me. And I'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you a shot. Keep the door open. Keep everybody off of me. All right, man, that's what I'll do. Hey, y'all need to back up.
I miss them old days. I miss the.
The old
I
creek,
wish we could
man,
go back
there
to
were
that old
magical
creek
moments
and
in
just
that old
hit
creek.
it one night.
Magical moments in that old creek.
It's all different.
And
now.
that's where I started playing with y'all for the most part. I remember when I first met John and
Brandon?
I guess and maybe it was you the first time I met you, but you guys were playing at a Graham Parsons tribute gig in Little Nights. You guys were playing. John Smith played drums with them.
Yep, that was at Little Night.
And
And
Greg,
you were in
I was
another
playing
band
with Greg, and
Okay.
Greg was like one of the headliners.
Greg
or whatever.
Hester's.
Yeah.
And he had a version of She,
That's
the
right.
Graham Parsons song.
That's
Wasn't
right.
actually written by Chris Etheridge, but Graham Parsons recorded song off of, was that off of the first or the second solo
I
album?
can't remember.
She. I think that was on GP.
GP.
I
The
think you're
first-
right.
First solo album, but
That's
what,
right.
What a great song that it is in Graham Parsons' hands, in Greg Hester's hands.
He
with
did a
Greg
great
Hester's
job.
voice. He did a really good.
He did a
rendition of
strong.
that.
We did that
Strong.
song at that
Strong
time when
song.
we were playing together a lot. He did that song normally,
Mhm.
and we knew it. We killed it.
Mhm.
His version of it, we did a great job of it, and that was a really good gig. And I remember
That was early 2000s.
before we played, I was checking out all the bands. I was sitting with Chris Ryder, it seemed like, and Paul.
That was at Little Nights. I
That was at
suppose,
Little
yeah.
Nights, and Paul said, "Check this band out. You're gonna like these guys." And it was Sean and Brandon and John with John Smith playing drums, and they were playing at.
It wasn't-
2007.
I don't remember years like you do, but John Smith wasn't
It was
supposed to play with us.
2009.
We were just
No, it would
John
have been
was our drummer.
2007
Was
because
it?
that was the
Okay.
year we went back to Little Nights after
Okay.
a few years
I
away.
don't remember
Gotcha.
years.
Yeah, 2007 was the year Jim Lauderdale and Phil Kaufman
yeah.
back at Little Nights,
And I remember a funny
that was
story
the
about
night that y'all recruited John Smith.
Well, Brandon and John did, and they came up, and I think I was turning it up a little bit because I was probably nervous about Jim Lauderdale or something. But they come up to me and they said, John Smith's going to play drums, which I knew John. And I said, but it could have been John Bonham's going to play drums with us. And I would have been like, but he don't know the songs.
Yeah, right.
That didn't matter
Because
with
it was all
John.
I
original
know it
music.
didn't, but
He ended up not mattering.
It had
It ended up not mattering.
not mattering at all. But
He's
It
like
affected
you.
you.
He's like
Yeah.
you. You could go on stage with anybody.
and play the gig
and do the gig.
Hopefully
and
sound good.
I was
yeah.
worried, but I went with it, and then
hopefully,
and it was like it was
bullshit.
it was like John had been in the band, and
Yeah.
and it was
Well, there's some people that are there, at that.
You know what
at
it
that.
is, Dave, is it's listening. It's just
It is.
you're getting out
It
of the way
goes
of
back
yourself.
to everything we've talked about
You
tonight.
you get out of the way of yourself. You listen to what these people are playing, and you try to follow along.
And
the best
you
can.
recall all of the things that you've learned through the years,
And you
based
use
on your
those
styles. And
tools,
it all just
You
flows
use those
out of you at
tools.
that point.
So I'm sitting upstairs hearing this band and going, "Wow!" And I told Paul, "Man, you need to introduce me to these guys. This is some really good music."
But
And-
that couldn't have been 2007. That was an earlier year because
Man, I remember that poster, and I'm trying to remember the year on it.
what poster was it?
It was because John and them had a poster.
it was white,
and they
had
had
the,
me sign it.
it was white, and it was one of the first ones. Had Graham's just silhouetted kind of face from a photograph in the middle of it. Had all the names on each side going down.
That's right. On each side of the poster had all the band's names that were playing, and Jim Lauderdale was
think it was
written
the
down
year
at the
that,
bottom.
I
It
think Bob
was the
Killing was
year
there.
that he played.
Bob Killing was there that year, and
Charlie Leuven
no,
was the year that Bob Keelan came. Was 1 year Bob
Bob
came.
Killing came 1 year when it was at Little Nuts.
Early.
Yeah,
I mean, the first two were 2002 and 2003 were Little Nights. Then we were 4, 5, and 6 Fairgrounds, and 7 back at Little Nights.
Damn, that's when I want to say it might
I
have
don't
been
know.
7 then.
I may be.
Yeah, if it were 7, then you wouldn't have been introduced to these guys because you knew them.
But I didn't know. I remember at that gig seeing them play.
You might
I didn't
not-
know John, and I didn't know Brandon.
Yeah, so he didn't know us then. But Paul had been telling me about Lee because we were looking for a drummer because John was playing drums and he was the best guitar player in the band. And he's like, "There's this guy Lee," but I don't remember talking to you that night. But
I don't either.
I'm not saying I didn't, but
And we might have, but I don't remember talking to you that
then
night.
I got with you on the phone at some point, and I said, "Hey, would you like to play drums?" And you're like, "Yeah." And then you came over and we teamed up at Crosstown when they were closed. And
There's
we
a black and white
practiced in there.
video of that somewhere.
We're going to
First time
figure it out, folks, because this is not computing in my head because we looked at that evidence video and it was 2007.
October 2007.
And this Graham
Yeah.
Parsons
So it had to be
festival
like
would have been,
So it had to be 2002 when we met.
2002, 2003.
that would have been a Greg Hester.
You know what? That's right.
Greg Hester
Because I
played
would have
back
been
in
playing
those
with
days,
Greg
yeah.
then. I had just
Early
gotten
on.
off the road
Sure.
with Eric, was playing
It
with
was.
Greg.
It was 2
and
or
then
3
that's
or
when
both,
we did
either.
the headliner there or played. We were one of the top
Lana Hines
whatever
year.
bands.
Lana Hines year, she
We
came
didn't headline it
in
because
02.
Jim Lauderdale
That's
and
the
then
year.
she headlined in 03.
She was there the night that John Smith played with us.
Oh,
She was
okay.
pregnant.
Okay. All right.
What year was that?
That was 02 or
That-
03.
That's
One or
when
the
it
other.
was. That's when it happened.
Thank
and that's
you.
when I'm.
Thank
and
you
I
for putting up with that, folks. We did figure it out.
But
I knew
And
it
I
was.
remember John and Brandon. Man, you need to sign our poster, guys.
And that was that
Guys, come
first
on,
year,
dude. What
02,
the
was
hell?
Jimmy Stratton's first visit to Waycross. Remember, they hired him as a photographer from Nashville
New York Times
to cover the New York Times
article.
article.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a New York Times reporter come down
Wow.
to cover the 02, the first public Graham Parsons guitar pool. And they New York Times hired a photographer out of Nashville. It turned out to be
Man.
Jimmy Stratton, and he sat up on that second level up there above the stage on that banister railing, taking pictures of y'all, and decided that y'all was worthy.
Worthy of taking advantage of. Over and over again.
All right, cut that out. Yeah.
I got a funny Jim Lauderdale story.
Okay, let's hear it.
So that year that he did the gig, we got up and backed him up
Yes.
and played with him.
Yeah.
Before that happened, he and I were talking, got to meet him. And I don't know why, he just kind of clinged to me a minute. And he was like, that girl right over there, that girl. I said, what girl? He said, that girl right over there. Who is that? And I looked over, and it was, who was it?
Dina.
Yeah, Dina.
That black
Big
head,
old brown eyes,
brown
black hair, good
black hair.
looking. Man,
Dina.
she's
You remember?
something. He goes, yeah, she's done flashed them damn eyes at me a couple of times, and I need to know who she is. And I said, well, the way it works here, I would say you just ought to go over there and just buy her a beer or talk to her. I mean, shit, you're Jim Lauderdale, dude. Go on over there and do your thing. He's like, I think I will. I think he went to the bar, he got a beer and a shot and another beer, and then walked over there and gave it to her, and they were talking. And then fast forward to we're playing with him. And I think what I remember is I played with him on some songs, but maybe Jim Smith or somebody
John Smith.
He
did get up there and played on
he
the
played some too, because I remember going, yeah, it's all good. I got off. I remember being down on the floor watching him play.
Yeah.
He's singing over here, up there is Dina. And he'd turn around and look up there and sing to her. And then he'd look at me and wink and stuff. And I was like, go for it, dude. You got it. And she played him. She just played him. She did the Waycross woman, play you, play me, but you ain't getting nothing. Good night. I'm gone. Good night. I'm going home now.
Well,
oh, you like me? Do you like me? You really like me, don't you? Yeah. Oh, it's time. I'll be going home now.
that was a
It
hell
messed
of a
him
night.
up because, see, here's what happened. The jam at your house,
Yeah.
it led all the way to there.
Right.
Everybody's wanting to jam.
we
Let's
all
play
went back
this
to
song.
the house after
He kept looking at me like,
and she was there too. She went there
she
too.
did. And he was looking and looking.
I think she left him standing in the foyer.
Sure,
looking and looking.
Jim will love this story when he.
That was, well, I'm sure she will. No, these are just memories, folks.
But I remember like weeks later or days or something later seeing her again and going, you kind of screwed the pooch on that for yourself. Because that was, I don't know, Jim Lauderdale.
You knew her pretty good, didn't you?
Yeah, I remember like there was times where people would hang out.
Yeah.
You'd go through the different crowds of people that were there at that moment,
Yeah.
and then they would be there.
And she was a regular
and she was
on
kind
the
of a
scene.
regular. And I
Yeah.
remember giving her shit about it, going, it was Jim Lauderdale. I mean, who knows? Maybe one day he gets a gig that he's going to be a backup singer and backup rhythm guitar player to somebody's record in Miami, and he gets with you and go, hey, why don't you go to Miami? We'll be down there for a week. You missed out on all of that. You don't realize who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't.
Right.
She didn't get it. And, I remember not too long after that, I was watching a Austin City Limits, and it was Willie Nelson doing this particular gig, and Jim Lauderdale's in the background. He's singing backup vocals, playing rhythm guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that shit right there. He just played last month in Waycross.
And he's everywhere. I don't know how he gets everywhere so quick.
I tell you what, and I've gone back and checked out that guy's music. He's got a lot of damn good music.
Oh my God. He
On
puts
his solo
it's
records.
like 2 albums a year.
Very good stuff.
Real prolific songwriter.
Absolutely.
How many years has he played Graham Parsons
3.
Festival?
He's played it 3
He played it
separate
3
times,
of them.
Yeah. The first was 2007 solo, and then we had him probably around 15 or so, and then I think 18. No, we had him the year we had Ralph Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that's
he
right.
had recorded those Grammy-winning CDs with Ralph Stanley, the bluegrass CDs. Very big in background in bluegrass music.
Remember when we backed up those two girls that came down, and you and I were going to go to the Bluebird
and MJ.
I don't know the other girl.
MJ Potts. I guess Mary Jane Potts, but Lana Hines.
That's
once
right.
again. I mean, she came in 2002 as a backup singer for Walter Egan and the Brooklyn Cowboys. Then we had her back in 2003 as the headliner.
That's right.
And we
backed
learned
her
her
up
songs and backed her up.
in that bus.
And that now the night of the bus would have been around 2008 or 9.
Yeah.
Out at the fairgrounds, and they were called Meridian, I believe.
That's
was
right.
The name of the
Meridian.
the duo, and they sent us the songs. We learned them, and then we sat on that RV behind the stage. That big old.
That's right.
God Almighty,
Tony, what's
that was
up?
a big old. Yeah, I believe it was. He had loaned it to Stephen Dixon or something like that.
Just like a backstage.
It was nice.
Yeah,
It was
man,
way
that was cool.
nice.
And I'd lost my voice. I couldn't do shit. But that was.
But you could play guitar.
I did, and
back
I
them
remember
up.
I started off.
Back them up.
I had my capo on the wrong fret or something, or it was strung down to an open D or something. And we started a song, and it was just like it all fell apart because of my tuning. I was in a bad way that weekend, though. I was tired and wore out, sick.
A lot of work in that bus trying to get their songs right.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Good.
But we got it. We did do a decent performance with them. Then they talked about us going to the Bluebird and backing them up. And we were going to go to the Bluebird. Yeah, and it was all about the Bluebird and the Bluebird.
We went back
and by the way, the Bluebird.
emails with them on that.
And you and I were going to go. We were going to go. And we did not.
Never panned out.
Lana ended up singing on our version of a song for you that we did in Nashville.
There you go.
The first album.
Another full circle moment.
Comes right back
Dwellers
around.
at the House of David's recording.
That's right.
What was the name of that CD?
Self-titled, Pine Box Dwellers.
It's the one with the wood engraving.
The wood engraving on the front cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I've recorded albums with you. I've recorded albums with you. And then we did the Newfanglers thing.
Yep.
I remember at one point we were talking about a Newfanglers thing where it was going to be about these cowboys that had to rob a bank and
Cowboy record.
Yeah, like a cowboy, like
a Western.
Out, like almost like Newfanglers' story, but in 18 or whatever, 17,
Right.
15.
Yeah.
You know, and robbing shit for a living and then being on the run.
Yeah.
And that life of being on the run.
Hell,
There's a good idea there. There is a damn good
about
premise.
4 or 5 songs. I mean, we were seriously, me and you and Levi Lowry were messaging each other in group messages and said, all right, I've got a song about a gun. I've got a song about
Is that when you wrote the Four Horsemen song? Or is that?
No, well, it might have been around the same time, but I remember specifically talking with you and Levi and saying, let's do a Western theme. And I don't know where it came from. I was just writing songs, stagecoaches.
Right. There's a lot there.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. That song came out of that. And there was several songs that came out of that, but we just never did get it off the ground, you know.
I remember talking to both y'all about, I'd come up with an idea, like a premise to a tune about being on the train, something about being on the train and running from the law. And this kind of thing was going on. It was like all about, you know, running from the law, being on that, you know, and thinking about like, man, I'm on the back of this train shooting for my life. And where I really want to be in my mind is at home with that wife and the kid, and we're cutting the butter biscuits up and, making a stew or whatever, but yet, nope, I'm not doing that right now. As the bullets are whizzing by.
Just trying to stay alive.
Right. And we were going to come up with this whole, the Western life, or I don't know what the hell it was going to be, but there's a good premise there. There is a good premise there.
The reason we were trying to go so grand is the first album was a concept album. And it's like, where do you go from the first album being a concept album?
There it is.
You got to do another concept at that point.
And I don't remember.
The thing about it is, you probably don't.
You probably don't. But it's just
it gets in your head. That's the old sophomore slump that they talk about.
I mean,
in all of these bands.
Not that it made a big splash, as far as.
Well, not that Newfanglers did, but it did in a way.
But it did, but. Without being on a label, without being any distribution, without
one of those underground subculture
things,
unknown type things. It did make its way around, and into a lot of people.
But it was so good
minds.
As what it was. It's like you don't want to screw up the name by putting out
something shitty. Of course not. I remember Paul telling me the story and the premise about the actual Newfangler story, and looking around, like he didn't really want to tell me about it, man. It's just, I don't really want to tell you about this.
There's a reason for that,
and there's a reason for all that, and I get it. But it was like, I remember saying something like, it's like Dragnet, man. The numbers, the names have been replaced, and these people are, it's not, you're not using the same, all that. And he's like, I know, but you just don't understand. It's hitting close to home, man. And at gigs, I remember it being at gigs with him, and there was this almost that, like he's looking out in the audience and yet ducking down at the same time or something. And I'm like, man, you're tripping me out, dude. You never know, man. You never know. Okay. I mean, I guess you do never know, but really, nobody's going to know any of this.
It was amazing how much those folks that the story was written about did know. They knew.
Did
everything.
They find out?
They knew
it.
everything that was going along.
Oh, they did. They heard
did.
all about the record and everything.
Yeah. They purchased the record.
Did they really?
I know. I think
some of them did, and then there was one of the old boys that walked into the store one day. Some old skinny guy from Brantley County said, "Yeah, I was one in the car that day that the old boy got his ass beat by the twins."
Wow.
He said, I was laying in the back seat of the floorboard fearing for my life,
Dang.
Damn, that's crazy.
And the 16-year-old son went and cut donuts in the yard. He had friends in the car with him.
Well, and
this guy was one of those friends?
He was one of those friends. He says, I was right there that day.
Most of them, I don't think they got pissed off. I think they got like, well, damn, that's pretty damn cool. Like they got some
really?
credibility.
Okay. Some of them did. Some of them felt like, well, I think the biggest thing was, hell, they're making money off of our misfortune.
What I would have thought.
Do you know this for a fact?
I did hear that. I did hear somebody
got pissed.
Was saying, well, what the hell? This is our story.
We didn't know this.
Are we going to get anything out of this kind of deal,
Wow.
Somebody had. At least that's what I heard.
We didn't get anything out of the deal.
No, I mean, it never did anything for us outside of some kind of underground notoriety.
But I get what you're saying about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, it's time for another tale of the week from Uncle Dave Griffin's book right here. I'm torn now. I don't know whether to, I think I'll go back to one that is a little more relevant here. And this one talks about the album of mine, the one album of mine that
American
I
Spurt.
American.
That's what I called it
American
when we were
Spurt.
doing.
American
When are we
Spurt.
going to finish this album, American Spurt?
Bert.
and the
I want to play them
relevance.
Ringo drums on that album, American Spurt.
The relevance is that this man right here played on every song
Every song.
on there, and they ended up being more than the 8 that wound up on the CD, but because of time constraints,
Because his timing was off. You had to,
Yeah.
no, his timing was.
What was that one song? Before you go
Impeccable.
into this story, what was the one song that you wrote that we recorded?
And didn't
I
make
kept
it.
going. It didn't. I kept looking for it on the album, and I couldn't find it.
It was "Song in the Vein,"
That's right.
Yeah.
man, that's a good song.
That didn't make the album cut.
and I loved what you did on that.
Man,
with
that song was.
with
kick-
that.
I remember telling Barry we were
That
riding
timpani.
somewhere out of town.
It's almost like
put
a
the
timpani.
CD in, and I'm like, "Wait till you hear this song now. This song's great."
And
No,
it
that
never-
ain't it. No,
never
that ain't
came.
it. No, that ain't. Hold on. No, that ain't it. Well, damn, we just went through the whole damn CD. What the hell? I know it's on here.
And the reason I
It's
didn't
not
put
on
that
here.
on there was because I was waiting. I was wanting to get Abby Owens
to sing,
to sing back up on
Yeah.
that, and
never
it
did
never
happen.
happened. But we had the whole song was laid out.
That was a
great drum,
kick-ass song.
great drum
Thank
part.
you.
And
That was a kick-ass
and,
song.
Put it out now.
well, it is scheduled to be on the second album, which I started like 5 years ago now, and still ain't finished. But
In the vein.
Scotty Nicholson played one of those old church organs on that song.
That's
Song in
right.
the Vein, on the one that you played on back
Right.
in 2010.
Right.
That'll be on some kind of a
Something soon.
archive album. Folks, title of this tale of the week is Bob Dylan Smoked 'Em Too. And a line from I Can't Get No Satisfaction, but he can't be a man 'cause he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes as me. Hi, my name is Uncle Dave, and I used to be a smoker. My granddaddy Carter owned a farm just west of Hoboken, Georgia. His main cash crop was tobacco. I started working on the farm when I was 8, handing tobacco to Mama, Aunt Darcille, and Aunt Jaquita, who would string the leaves on a stick about 5 feet long. I made $5 a week. Daddy joined the Air Force in 1946 and retired after 20 years. And for the whole time he was in, I remember him smoking Salem cigarettes. The taste that's springtime fresh. He quit smoking when he retired from the Air Force and admonished me and my brother. They'll coldly kill you, boys. A year and a half before Daddy retired in 66, the Rolling Stones played a chaotic concert at Jack Russell Stadium in Clearwater, Florida. That night, Keith Richards woke up in his hotel room with an 8-note riff that he played into his cassette recorder, mumbling the phrase, "Can't get no satisfaction." A day or two later, while lounging around the hotel pool, Mick Jagger wrote the lyrics in 10 minutes. A folksy version of the song was recorded May 10th, 1965 at Chess Studios in Chicago. 2 days later at RCA Studios in Hollywood, I Can't Get No Satisfaction was recorded again with the definitive fuzz-tone guitar riff that Richards had dreamed up only a week earlier. It was the Stones' first #1 hit in the United States. I never took cigarette smoking seriously, dabbling with them in college. As I grew older, I considered myself a seasonal smoker. As soon as beach weather rolled around, I'd drink a beer and light one up. When I caught that inevitable first cold of the winter season, I'd put them down. By the time the cold had run its course, I was a non-smoker again. At the turn of the millennium, I started working at Paul Lee's Crosstown Music Store. Them boys were hardcore Camel smokers, and I fell easily into the habit. It was in 2007 that American Spirit cigarettes first came to Waycross. I had heard about them already, reading somewhere that Bob Dylan smoked them. I figured what was good enough for Bob was good enough for me. That evening, as I sat at the computer listening to some obscure Neil Young, I glanced at the ashtray to see my American Spirit smoking majestically, its Indian eagle totem emblazoned across the filter, laying in the ashtray, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly what Bob Dylan sees. So, with two of my most adored artists already in the room, sonically and spiritually, what better time to try to write a song? What followed on my yellow legal pad was a cosmic stream of consciousness songwriting experiment that a lot of folks tell me is their favorite song of mine. I called it, naturally, American Spirit, a story of unrequited love between the narrator and his fictional Mary Alice, who passed away before he could tell her of his infatuation. About a year after writing American Spirit, I was singing the song in a restaurant to a small crowd. During a break, a lady from Blackshear, Georgia, found me outside smoking an American Spirit and was hell-bound on finding out who the dead Mary Alice actually was. When I told her the song and its lady of misfortune were both fictitious, she seemed more than disappointed. And I asked her why. She told me her sister, Mary Alice, who had lived in Waycross, died about the same time I wrote the song.
That's
so
crazy.
It's like hair on the back of your neck.
Right.
It's like,
Wow.
Cue the theremin. But that was an interesting little take on that. But I'm proud to have had you on that whole album. I don't think I've said that enough times, but you always. I never had no doubt that you were going to be on it. It was like, who am I going to get, to back my songs up on my first and only CD at the time. And we recorded in about a week or several days.
It was pretty
It was just
quick.
over the Christmas holidays.
It was almost too damn quick.
For John Pope, Brandon Doty.
Yeah.
We're coming back to Waycross for the holidays.
And we had to record it in that
And you
time.
came from Brunswick.
That's right.
Josh Kirkland.
And then Josh Kirkland was here. He was more of an overdub. Because it was just me, you, Pope, and Brandon.
And Brandon.
The
going over those songs.
And then Scotty came back and overdubbed, and Josh came in and overdubbed, and that was basically it. And that was, to me, I'm just proud of that CD.
I remember John and Brandon. Interesting story. I remember John got with me. Him and Brandon had already been working on your stuff, privately doing homework on the shit. Got me hip to what they were doing on particular songs, and then I was like, yep, I understand what's going on, how you want to do this, how you're doing that, how you're approaching this, how we approach that. Then when we got together with you, I think you already knew a little bit about what they were wanting to do. And then from there, we just pulled our sleeve, rolled our sleeves up.
It seems so
here's
effortless.
This song. Let's work this song out. Yeah. Boom. It was done. Let's go to the next song.
And it was live cuts.
And we would talk and work it out. And then lay it down. Talk and work it out, and then lay it down. And that was very awesome.
It moves fast.
Me and John and Brandon really gave a shit about your songs.
Right.
So we wanted to give them the best performance we could within the time allowed. And it was badass. It was a lot of damn fun.
A lot of...
it was very
a lot
cool.
of pride in that, a lot of love for how it happened and everything.
We were proud.
A lot of
we
appreciation for y'all's input and y'all's talent.
The thing is that you wrote the song. It's like the song's there. Now we could get creative with it and go, wow, we could do this and that. We could, do all this cool shit with it. As long as you were digging it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't remember there being a whole lot of, it was almost like here's how the song goes. Well, we knew that. So we did that. We're talking about doing this, talking about doing that. Okay, let's do that. And then we would just maybe go over it once and then boom, lay it down. Go over it once, boom, lay it down. And just knocked out those songs. And within 2 days, 3 days, I think within 2 to 3 days, me and Brandon and John finished all the rhythm track stuff. And then you were able to take your time and get Scotty and do all the pretties and the vocals and the harmonies and harmonizing with yourself. And
that was December of 2009 that we recorded that.
Was that right?
And then in 2010, I was able to do the overdubs and mixing and
producing and production,
mastering and all of that stuff, and then the production. And got it ready by Graham Parsons of 2010. That was my goal, to have it ready. And that's why I went ahead with the 8 songs instead of more. You know, I had a few more in the can, but didn't have them totally fleshed out.
So we recorded probably 10 or
we did probably about 12
songs.
or 13 songs off of that. And,
great album.
Yeah.
Good stuff and a good time. Even though it was quick, it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, when you're playing with John, sometimes he'd turn around and look at you and give you this look. And it's like, yeah, I know, man. I know. I know. It's like, yeah, we getting ready to get all in it now. We're getting ready to get all in it. Yeah, I know. I'm ready. That's a good look. You know, it's that, you know, that's getting ready. Okay, we're getting ready to get stupid with this. All right. You know, that's good stuff. It's real good stuff.
Well, folks, we've enjoyed having you this time. And we've enjoyed having you, man.
It's been
awesome.
A
long time coming.
It's been a long time coming. We actually did one, and
is there anywhere
somehow it got lost or whatever, but
yeah.
So we did this one.
Leo Neal 2.0.
2.0.
Is there anywhere you playing on a regular basis now?
Not really. I'm just kind of floating around. I'm playing solo gigs. I'm playing drum gigs. I'm playing with 3 or 4 different acts and just kind of hitting this gig. Me and Sean are doing the Blackjack still. We're playing at Moss and Tortuga Jackson Jekyll and Village Inn on St. Simon's. I'm just playing around with a few different people, playing around. I've got a little side project thing going on right now that, you know, it's going to take a little while to get it going, but it could be, it's so far looks like it could be a good band.
Yeah.
Just hadn't, no gigs booked, still learning, you know, went all the way back and got with some guys that I've never played in a band with before, but we've all played together before.
What's the name of it?
Don't know. Don't have a name for the band yet.
Well,
but we're working on songs. We got half of what we need done, and we hadn't come up with a name. But the cool thing about it is everybody's a veteran, kind of. Everybody's been, you know, everybody's already played in bands. We've all played together, but not at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty much just, you know, here's the song. We want to do it. You learn it. Yep. Sounds good. Next tune. And just keep on going down the line. No ego, no weirdness. No, somebody has, you know, their shoe on the wrong foot. Nothing stupid going on. It's just guys getting together and playing some good music. So hopefully at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, that project will start happening. Awesome. Don't know yet, but
you can keep up. You can keep up with all of us actually
on Facebook.
Lee, and myself and Sean, Pine Box Dwellers, with SSI Living Magazine. It's an online magazine.
That's right.
Kathy Williams out of
St.
Simon's keeps a local calendar of musical performances, who's playing where, all around the Golden Isles, and
we love her for doing that.
Absolutely, Kathy Williams.
I'm with the band.
I'm with,
Yeah,
the
I'm
band.
with the
That's the
band.
name of it. And SSI Living Online Magazine. You can keep up with what's going on in the Golden Isles area. And once again, thank you, buddy, for being our
Thank you.
guest this
Thank you.
time.
It was a great time. A lot of fun.
Folks, we got a Patreon account coming soon. We want to check that out online at the link below. And this book, Tales of the Week, From Dog Hill to Tripoli and Back, Uncle Dave Griffin, you can purchase that online. If you'll just send us a email to somethinginthewaterpodcast at gmail.com. The American Spirit CD that we were talking about tonight, any of Sean's Pine Box Dwellers original CDs.
Or if you have any questions or
Any questions,
anything you want us
comments,
to talk about or whatever, we can address it.
we'd love to have you. Keep them cards and letters coming.
Like, rate, subscribe, share.
And keep watching Something in the Water. We'll see you next time.
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate.
What the fuck? That was a good one, man.
Right?
I was like,
hilarious.
I know, like, fuck. I gotta really get rid of this.
They were like, what? Well, I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like, why the fuck some other guy like 20 pieces of ice?
Just dump it back in here. It's just me drinking this shit.
That was kind of funny to have.
Oh no.